Hi guys, so we missed this morning to have a recording and also to log in on Zoom. I hope nobody missed the session this morning. Um, I'm just doing a short recording about the lesson today. I must admit this is much harder to do it just with the camera than what it is having everyone in the class. Nevertheless, I'm going to just go through this follows establish person-centered behavior support and just highlight a few of the important bits on it. So during this assessment or this unit, we are going to learn how to manage and minimize some behaviors of concern, to review and know how to review the behaviors of concern, to learn how to provide positive support according to the individualized plans, and to understand how to complete documentations. So in supporting the person to maintain their activities of daily living in accordance with the organization policies and procedures and the individualized support plan, we are first focusing on the social model of disability, and this means taking the responsibility for understanding how to include a disabled person as stakeholders in all the mainstream work, and looking at ways how to support their participation in community life. And I'm going to start off with playing a little video first.
I always felt being a disabled person was a problem. After learning about social model, it challenged me to look at disability completely differently. I myself was able to gain some confidence and self-esteem.
Social model basically says we are people with impairments, and those impairments clearly have an impact on how we live our lives. But the impairments are not things which disable us.
I'm disabled by the world around me, and if the world was more accessible, I would be less disabled, and then I would just be left with my impairment, i.e. what doesn't work. It's not that my legs don't work that's disabling me, it's the fact that if I want to, if I'm on a flat surface, I can wheel around fine, I'm wonderfully happy. It's only when I come up a flight of stairs.
As a wheelchair user, you have a slightly easier job of explaining the social model. Whereas if you're trying to explain the less physical barriers, it's much harder.
There's barriers everywhere in life to do with how we communicate, to do with people's attitudes.
Discovering the social model actually was a massive liberation on another level. Yeah, I was being treated differently, and no, it wasn't me being deficient, it was everybody else's social anxieties that were being projected onto me.
The blame for you not fitting in is no longer on your shoulders.
Suddenly, my disability is out there and not in here. It was what made me realize that I was something beyond the thing that other people thought I was.
It's a real liberating thing, but it also means you can change it. We can say to the world, look, you must put a lift in this building. You must make sure that the signage is readable for people with visual impairment.
If you want that equality to be real, you've really got to then tackle the inequality people are experiencing in schools, in workplaces, with transport.
The main reason that the social model, I think, is important to disabled people is that it allows us to be a community. You achieve a whole lot more as a group.
As long as we, as disabled people, make sure that our voices are heard, and that all those people that support us also have their voices heard, I think we will get there.
I hope that Scope is doing work that will help disabled people to become prouder of who we are, pushing boundaries around who can be included and where.
Come the glorious day if it ever came, where all those barriers went, we'd just be people with impairments. We wouldn't be disabled people anymore.
Find out more about Scope's work and how to get involved by clicking below to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So just talking about the support we give people in maintaining the activities and help establish successful activities and routines that provide positive behavior, and support plans that provide an effective map for managing and support their processes. Got another little video just in positive behaviors, and we'll talk a bit more about it after the video. Let's get the sharing right. Sorry. Okay, go.
Challenging behaviors, that's how we see it. They're misbehaving. They have problem behaviors. We've got to do something about this. Now, I'm going to call a timeout right now, because the biggest problem we have right here is you've already identified the source of the behavior. You're pretty sure it's them and what they're doing. Time out. You need to take a step back and realize this is much more complicated than you think. And instead of being such a strong judge and jumping to conclusions, what I want you to do is back off and reframe this. I want you to realize that they're doing the very best they can to try to communicate with you, to meet a need, to express that they aren't liking what you're doing. And unfortunately, you simply see it as not getting your way. What you don't realize is that you started this very frequently in your effort to be helpful. Let me just say to you, you weren't as helpful as you thought you were. I didn't really enjoy the help you gave me. I didn't get it. So you have a choice right now. Are you going to continue to push your agenda to try to get where you want? Or can you take that step back and go, okay, well, this isn't working. Let me rethink. So what you want to do when you experience a behavior you're not liking, you need to, whoa, take that step back, take a deep breath, let it go, and realize now it's time to kick in the front of your brain and to become a really good detective. Try to figure out what might be driving what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, and what they're feeling. What maybe you're smelling and they're not picking up on, what they're tasting versus what you would be tasting. Because what you want to do is realize that you need to see it from their side. And once you see it from their side, you try to be in their shoes, figure this out. Suddenly, when you see things, hear things, experience things differently, and you make that choice, that decision to do that, the uh-oh becomes an aha, because you can start to realize it's the setting, it's the care, it's the gem, it's who they were before this all started. There's lots of pieces to the puzzle. Your job, if you want to do this well and do this over the course of this condition, is to stop the judgment, time yourself out, and reframe this behavior. Go from a challenging and frustrating, I just don't understand why she's doing this, to pausing for yourself, getting some help, maybe getting somebody else to take a look with you, because maybe you just can't see it because of who you are and how it works. But what you're going to do is take that step back, look more broadly, and at that point, make a decision. What are they trying to do? Are they communicating unmet physical need? There's basically 5 of them you want to learn about. Or an unmet emotional need. Or are you seeing the emotional need, but you're missing the physical need? Or was it something that is happening in the environment or happened earlier today? As I said, complicated. So you need some training. You need to know what's going on and what's not going on, so you can quit sitting in judgment and start using this. That's the best tool. That and your ability to bring people together to help you. So with challenging behaviors, it's not about them. It's about us and what we choose to do about this effort to communicate an unmet need, and helping us figure out what is the need and how can we better meet it for success for both of us. Making a positive difference because we choose positive approach to the care. Now remember this lady? What do you think she's doing? You see her beating on the chairs, making noise, annoying people, and you know she needs to go to the bathroom. It's been a long time. You've tried to make her stop, but she won't. What if I told you she used to clean houses for a living? I'm going to try substitution and a positive approach rather than trying to make her quit.
Miss Leona. Well, hey there. Get my hand out the way. You're trying to get them clean. Here, try this.
She's a busy woman.
There you go.
I'm going to try a substitution here.
I'll trade you.
Not yet. Show her.
Rub it with that. Can you rub it? Yeah. Here, rub it.
You're getting there.
Trade me. Trade me. Here you go. Take this. All right, give it. You got it. Now trade out. There you go.
Ta-da.
Now rub it.
Now I show her. There she goes.
There we go.
People are less annoyed, not so much noise. And she's cleaning. Now I want to reinforce it. That's good. That's good.
2 more to
I
go.
still haven't met
You're doing a fantastic job.
her unmet need. One more substitution.
Nicely done, Leona.
She needs to get finished with this
Boy, you are good.
so we can move on.
You get this one?
Watch me, I'm sneaky.
That's it. Good. Good.
I visually eliminate the task.
Whoa. Woo. That is beautiful. You did a fantastic job. Man, you're a good cleaner. Here. Thank you. All right. Well, come with me and we'll sit down and take a break. Oh, God. I know you're ready for one, aren't you?
Now, before she goes to sit down, though, we have a place to go.
Little girl, you worked hard. Oh, God. You are one of the hardest working women I've ever met. Yeah. Well, Lord knows. Let's go to the ladies before we sit down. Okay. Okay.
We changed the challenge to success.
So this unit runs hand in hand when we do age as in, or the age stream, then we'll be doing dementia in this unit. And a lot of the behaviors of concern in demented people are very similar to some of the behaviors you may experience with people with disability, other disabilities, especially if it's an acquired brain injury or, intellectual disability, because dementia or a lot of age-related illnesses are very similar to people that have disabilities. You know, if you lose your sight as you get older, or your hearing, or something like that. So there's a lot of similarities that we can draw in between behaviors of concern and older people, as well as between younger people. It's also true that these days there are quite a few younger onset dementia people and people with cognitive disabilities that might have occurred from, having a stroke or having something gone wrong in the brain. So we draw up a behavior support plan, and in this behavior support plan, we identify the needs for the person. And because we say that most behaviors of concern comes from an unmet need. So it will include then factors that the environment, that there's maybe something in the environment that needs changing, or we need to get some skill or change some system that's in place at the moment, so we can most benefit the person with the behavior. I have another little video of a little boy that's really good as well.
This is Raphael. He's been diagnosed with OCD. Here is one example.
I told you to open this.
I did open it.
No, you didn't.
It's open.
No, it's not.
This is open. Look, it's open. There's chocolate pudding right there.
Look, this is not open.
You mean this right here?
No, right here.
Right here?
Yeah,
You want me to take this off?
this off.
This.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to eat it if I don't take it off?
You do take it off. You can.
It's completely open, Raphael. You can eat it.
Not yet.
Yes,
See,
yes.
this is
No, you can eat it right now.
not yet. See, this is shut.
No. Look.
Don't pick it out. You're not gonna pick it out.
It's open. If it wasn't open, I wouldn't be able to get it.
You're not gonna do that in the chocolate pudding.
Look.
No. You don't do that in the chocolate pudding.
Get your spoon and put it in there.
I got it.
Yeah. Okay, now eat it.
Not yet, after I open
But
this.
honey, it's open. There's nothing there. Look on the other side. Look underneath of it. See, there's nothing here. It's a lip. You could cut it off and it wouldn't matter because your chocolate putty is in the middle. See?
Yeah.
You're violating my finger.
I said.
Well, you're violating my finger there. Okay, go ahead and eat your chocolate putty.
You don't do that in the chocolate pudding.
I think you'll be just fine. Don't you? You think you'll be just fine?
Yeah.
All right. Take a bite. I want to make sure it's open all the way. Take a bite.
Can you please open it like this?
No,
Just like me?
it really won't happen because we're trying not to
It
do
will
that.
happen.
We're not trying to do that, okay?
We're trying to do that.
We're not trying to do that. We opened the pudding. We opened it. It's open. You can put your spoon in it and you can put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
And that little piece of paper is not going to control your whole life.
It's gonna control my whole life.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's really not.
It is.
It's insignificant.
It's going to.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it, Mommy.
Just eat your chocolate putty. Don't think about that piece of paper. Nobody cares about that piece of paper.
You don't do that in this chocolate pudding.
Yeah, we just care about the chocolate pudding. Right?
You don't care of that chocolate pudding.
We care about the chocolate pudding.
No, we don't.
We don't care about that paper. That paper has nothing to do with us. It's just being there and wants to be left alone. So leave it alone and eat your chocolate pudding. Is it good?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, you do. This little minion that who takes away.
Yep.
Yeah. Please subscribe to the channel and.
So when we try to establish some plans for people to manage behaviors, we also have to consider the individual needs, their strengths and their capabilities and preferences when engaging them in activities of daily living. So in everything we do for them, we always have to make sure that we consider them as the person that is the center of, the most important person in the plan, and that everything is according to what their needs are, their strengths are, their preferences. And it's all about having a tailored service for our clients, so trying to help our clients in the best way we can. And then we also focus on their strengths. And like when you have a Down syndrome person and she's perhaps good at dancing or loving music, then you can focus on that to find activity that suits her and that will help her to be more social. And sometimes they're very social as well, so that's the type of strength you can focus on in helping them. Engaging people in the daily living activities, getting them to use every opportunity to develop them and help them to grow, help them to put expectations down, and providing them with the freedom to choose and their beliefs and their goals, and giving them purpose. Part of these activities that we do with them is what helps us to prevent behaviors of concern. If they have, they feel that they have the freedom to choose, then they'll have less behaviors. I have heard of so many times when people are rigid and take people's freedoms away, or forcing them to do things, that they lash out, and that there's you have behaviors of concern. It's no different to a person without disability, that how we would respond if somebody suddenly comes and takes things away from us and take opportunities away from us. The same when trying to reach their goals and having some purpose behind what they are doing and where they're moving to, gives any person an inner satisfaction. So when you help your disabled client to also set goals and reach those goals and find purpose in maybe finding a job, and even if it's just an hour a week, um, to actually, grow and learn how to interact with people. Um, but the best way about it is to get to know them, identify problems and engaging and motivating them and seeking appropriate assistance. And sometimes we do have problems getting them to be engaged. Um, Sometimes people can be over emotional. They might not be feeling well. I mean, just think of ourselves. If we're not feeling well, we don't feel like doing much, and have to also have flexibility to accept when somebody is not feeling well and not force them into activities. But of course, if we can get them to engage and for them to enjoy the activities, then we also eliminate behaviors. But the other side is true, that will also provoke them if we force them into anything that they don't enjoy or that they don't like. Or they might have a problem with a specific person. uh, I've heard a story. One of the students was saying she was going to look after a client, and the client reminded her of her brother that committed suicide, and she had, she wasn't feeling comfortable with that client, and she'd gone back to the care provider and shared that with the care provider. So if the client, sometimes somebody might respond to you strangely and you might not know, might think that they have a problem with you, but it might just be that you remind them of someone else. So and when there's an unfamiliar environment, some people, especially people with cognitive disabilities, they really find it hard when things are unfamiliar, when things are out of the ordinary. So we have to bear that in mind. And with physical disorders, if people have, they can't do what they used to do, perhaps like somebody with dementia that becomes frustrated because they can't do what they always did, or if somebody has suddenly lost the use of their legs and they can't go what the places they used to go, and they will get frustrated, they will get angry. In the social model of disability, when people haven't got that access, when they can't go places they want to go or do the things they want to go, that can also set people off and becoming aggressive and frustrated. In devaluating people and social devaluation, when the value of their life is they count it as not worth much, then you know human beings have the incredible sense when somebody don't like them or when something is not right. You just have a sense for that, um, and it's no different with people with disability. My mum had a mental disability or cognitive disability. She suffered from a lack of oxygen when she was 4 years old, due to high fevers and things. And she had very limited understanding of many things, that she would just repeat herself and not really understand when we try to explain some things to her. And you know but the one thing that she was very, very good with and was really incredible was that she would pick up on emotions. She would pick up if somebody doesn't like her, or somebody ignores her, or somebody doesn't greet her. People with disability might look stupid, but they're not stupid. They are sometimes very emotionally intelligent, and maybe not mentally intelligent, but they have got that emotional connection, and can pick up with on things when they are being devaluated, when they are being looked down at or disrespected in any other way, and that can also be the cause sometimes of some sort of behaviors. So provide a safe environment for your person with cognitive person conductive to positive and adaptive responses, and safe environments, just having familiar people around, having familiar items that they are used to. Routines are important, they are, but if somebody obviously somebody hasn't had a good night, we need to have understanding and not forcing them to get up early, you know, or removing hazards in their lives. So this positive and adaptive response, when a person responds to an environment with a desirable behavior and doesn't react unexpectedly, is a positive response. Adaptive response is where the person with disability uses another function or aspect of their body to adapt to the environment and to complete a task. So like the lady, there's a video out on her, I should put it on here as well, where she uses her legs to drive a car with, or legs as hands. And you know what they say, people, somebody that is blind might have a, you know, super hearing, or their hearing would be more developed or more sensitive, really not more developed, more sensitive to sounds, and smells. They can smell if somebody comes into that room, and identify people with, you know, through smells. Recognize behaviors of concern outlined on, and sometimes in the individualized plan, there'd be a section where a behavior of concern may be listed, and understanding what it means. What is a behavior in general? This is always in a negative concept, and we always use it in a negative concept, but a behavior is any way that which one acts or conducts oneself, especially towards others. So it could be a positive thing. It doesn't always necessarily have to be a negative thing. But what is a challenging behavior? That is the negative impact that one person's well-being on one person's well-being, or leads to them being excluded from something. A behavior of concern is something that, or a type of behavior which causes stress or worry, or may also risk or harm to acute harm to the person, or their carers, or even other people around them. And complex behavior, it can be intricate behavior and can be very hard to understand or deal with. So what is the effects of these behaviors? Behaviors of concern can often be intense, and it can be frequent, but it will quite often put somebody in harm's way, or cause serious jeopardy, or which behavior that will limit the use or result in the person being denied access to ordinary facility or services. So people can be excluded because of their behaviors. Consider what happens before, during, after behaviors of concern. What led to the incident? What's the signs that was displayed by the person immediately or beforehand? What was the incident itself? Whether the clients had an unmet need? What was the duration? And what interventions was called? So these type of points would also be used in your documentation of the behavior of concern. And the clearer we are with the documentation in these behaviors, the more detail there is, the easier it is to make conclusions on the, you know, on what is the factors behind these behaviors. Got another little video.
And what we need.
So just make sure I've got the right sharing here.
What everybody needs to learn how to do is de-escalate people. But guess what that requires you to be able to do? Communicate effectively. Because now I have somebody in acute distress. unless you know how to take them down verbally and non-verbally, all you're going to do is increase their distress, which is typically what happens, which is why they end up with the EMS people, strapped them down to the gurney and have to drug them up, quote unquote, because they reach maximum crisis. I walked in on a Saturday into a building one time. I was there to train staff, but nobody was in the place I was supposed to do training. And I heard down the hall, no, you got away, I'll kill all of you. And I thought, well, I bet I know where everybody is. And I went down the hall because, of course, when there's a racket, everybody wants to check it out. And so everybody was down there checking out the racket. Basically, everybody was supposed to be in my class, I suspect. And there was a woman backed into a corner, and there were 4 EMS folks who were trying to move in on her. And staff said, this is what we're talking about. She gets totally out of control. And they were all saying, calm down. Now turn to your partner. I want you to do this one. This one's a really popular one. Do this. Calm down. I need you to calm down. Calm down. And I said, gentlemen, stop. Come here. I will handle this. I'm an expert. Now I'm going, oh crap. I hope I can do this. But what did I know if I chose not to do it? She was already flinging her arms around. She had a cut on her arm from where she flung against the edge of the wall, and it sliced her skin because she was 89 years old. She was terrified. She was fighting them off, but she missed them and hit the wall because she didn't have depth perception. She was crouching down. She was trying to find things to throw. It was just going to get worse and worse. And I said, enough time. And I pulled everybody back, and I said, you guys back off. Quit watching. It's not a show. And they were all like, and then they hid so they could watch. I know what they did. Fortunately, I just got enough out of her range, and I didn't really care. And I said, what's her name? And they said, Millie. And I said, Millie, all these people, every one of them is coming at you. Now notice what I did. That's Millie, and I turned this way. Who's on Millie's side? I am, and I did what she was trying to do, only I was her champion. None of them, you get out of here, all you people, leave her alone. Oh, Millie, oh man, I can't believe they did this. Oh God, are you okay? I got goosebumps. Yeah, because what do you want to do right now? What are you planning on doing right now? Absolutely taking my hand. Oh my God, I cannot believe this has happened. Oh, are you okay? Oh, Christ. Oh, God. Millie. Good. There we go. There we go. There you go. There you go. You're okay. It's okay. You're okay. I'll deal with them. Come on. Let's go sit down a minute. Come on. We'll be okay. So she got up. I had her walk over to the gurney, sit down on the gurney. I helped her lie down on the gurney. I said, I'm going to put this strap here to hold you on. Okay. Okay. She said, yeah, put it on. Put it on. And I said, now I'm going to do one down here because I don't want your legs to come up. Well, okay. Okay. But I put the blanket up real high because you're cold. Why was she cold? Her anxiety was so high, she was freezing. She was freezing because she'd just been through this horrible incident. And so what happened is I said, here, come on, I'm going to hug you. I'm going to hold your hand. And I walked out with her. She got in the emergency vehicle, no problem whatsoever. They're like, how did you do that? Were you watching? I was willing to go where she was. She was a terrified, trapped person. And what they didn't realize is they were making it worse in their effort to help because they're trained to do what they're trained to do, which is transport people emergently. And some of them go further and they've got more skill, but that's not what their job is until we make it their job. Their job is to help people who have dementia.
So engaging in inclusive communication, when we're helping people that are struggling with the behavior, just calm down yourself. Don't you get all excited. Use short words and short sentences. Repeat yourself. Sometimes we might have to use visual aids if they can't understand it. Take time to listen. We may need to communicate in writing as well. Everyone has the basic needs, like needs for food and water, warmth and rest, and security and safety, and relationships and friends. It's no different for people with disability. And when these needs are not met, if they feel that they are being neglected or they cannot reach their potential, people get frustrated. So consider the types and the frequencies and triggers of behaviors of concern. Behavior is likely to put the person or others in harm, others in risk or at risk or of harm. So this type of behaviors that is likely to put the person or others at risk or harm will have the potential for physical harm or destruction, um, or might last an excessive long time. It might also isolate the person or interfere with the person being able to learn new things. Sometimes quite often, some triggers. These triggers can be an audible, visual, sensory, olfactory, taste related, or can be um, situational or environmental, could be time related, or many other things. Um, so each person with disability is unique, and we have to respect their circumstances and respond in ways that are fair and open. Promote independence. Try, promote them to do as much as they can for themselves. This creates a sense of self-worth for them and helps them to have purpose. And all of those things eliminates behaviors. And each person have the right to privacy. And quite often, I mean, we walk in the room, we, rip the clothes off them and put them in a shower and start working with them without really considering that they might be shy, they might not want to do that. And with dementia, people um, will walk with dirty aids because they're ashamed, or they you feel embarrassed, they don't know how to deal with it. And then we think it's our duty care to help them, and we try to help them by taking them to the toilet, and they get angry and frustrated and start hitting at us because we forcing ourselves on them because we feel we're doing the right thing. So assessing and trying to find out about the nature of the um, behavior, the intensity, the frequency, the duration of the behavior that might cause harm. Develop theories about the factors that contribute and maintain this the adult behavior that causes harm. Making recommendations, that's what we can do about appropriate strategies for meeting their needs to improve their quality of life. Just sometimes it's hard because people are set in their ways, and when we come in and we see, well, this is the reason why they are there is a behavior, to try to change the team's point of view, coming in with our ideas. We have to sometimes be sensitive and say, well, this really works well. Do you want to try this? Or, and just then improving their quality of life and managing these behaviors that cause harm. Um, Base data should also be gathered. So if it's possible, try to find out things from the family, the mum, the if it's an elderly person, from the children. In behavior support, we also try to always reduce and eliminate the occurrence of the behaviors that cause harm. And also reduce the elimination of the need to use restrictive practices. So these restrictive practices could include medication. It could include us physically going to hold somebody down, or preventing them from going in a certain place because they have a behavior. So we are not allowed to do that. And with the new standards, the HK standards, that restrictive practices has been on the limelight as well, and there's been a lot of talk about it. So if we can in any way eliminate behaviors without having to reach for some sort of a medication to calm them down, that would be the ideal. And so positive behavior strategies that address these triggers and might contribute to adults' behaviors and provide alternative ways to meet their support needs. Some examples of positive behavior strategies could be changing the physical environments with just, noise or light, changing the lifestyle factors such as age-appropriate activities related to their interest and enjoyment, developing skills and competencies in line with their interests and daily living requirements, and exchanging social connections and networks, just making them feel valuable and making them feel like you care, being involved in their lives. Teaching them punctuality, skills, and appropriate ways to communicate without being frustrated or distressed, and coping mechanisms, how to deal with anxiety, like Deepasna was doing there, breathing with them and taking walks with them and trying to help them to work through these behaviors of concern. I refer again to the living love from the spectrum that is on Netflix, and these teaching adult functionality and more appropriate of ways of communication. There's some very good examples in that documentary with these young adults with autism. So while with watching, I had a smile on my face all through watching it. So then, considering that when there is a behavior, it's in type of trauma that happens. So it's like they get attacked or they attack somebody, and they feelings of challenge or being threatened. They might experience arousal or fear. Arousal peak as you face these challenges or threats. So that's like the anxiety building up in you, and it will decline as the challenge has been met and as we have tried to deal with the behavior of concern. So I have a little video here again explaining this a little bit better.
Everybody that goes through trauma goes through what's called the arousal cycle. Arousal energizes our survival responses. So if you can imagine standing on top of a cliff and looking down, a couple 100 feet, and there's jagged rocks down below, just put yourself in that spot and imagine how you feel. Do you feel aroused? Do you feel scared? Do you get like a pit in your stomach? These are all things that can come when we become aroused in situations like that. So your typical arousal cycle has 4 steps in it, where you feel challenged or threatened, then you are aroused, and then 3, your arousal peaks, and then you face the challenge or the threat, and then your arousal is brought down. And that's the cycle. Those that are traumatized, they have a deep mistrust of that cycle, and for good reason. It's typically their traumatic experience has been, when you think about that experience, it's been coupled with overwhelming experience of fear. And so they avoid completion of that cycle. And so they remain stuck in their fear and are unable to overcome it. And one good thing to teach those that have been traumatized, or families that are going through this, is the basic principle that what goes up must come down. To trust the arousal cycle, to let your feelings ebb and flow. And when that happens, healing can begin. I had one client that in sessions with her, when we would start to talk about her trauma, or even if we weren't talking about her trauma, if we were just talking about anything that started to provoke anxiety, she would hide in the corner of my office, would curl up in a ball, would cover her face with her hair, and then she wore a jacket and would put the hood up. We couldn't even continue until I had to coax her that she was capable, and she could overcome her anxiety, that I acknowledged the feelings and validated the feelings that she was feeling. And then with some coaxing, I would have her come and sit back in the chair, sit up straight, take some deep breaths, remove the hood, remove the hair, and uncurl herself, and just sit in that moment and let her realize that that anxiety, even though it comes up, it also goes down. And it took several sessions where I had to do this repeatedly, and it got to a point where we didn't have to do that anymore, and she was realizing and acknowledging the thoughts and sensations that came through the arousal cycle, and letting them peak, then diminish, and then dissolve. And so anybody who's going through trauma, just being able to understand the arousal cycle and to to not shut down when they get to that arousal period, to just let themselves go up and let themselves come down naturally. And that takes a process, it takes practice, but that's how the healing begins.
Okay, so
Everybody.
consider the environmental factors and context of the behavior. And these could also be people around, types of environments, objects in the environments that can cause people, you know, acting out or have behaviors of concern. Some triggers might be a noise, light, temperature, overcrowding, inappropriate signage, lack of information, and so on. Bright lights, temperature, it's too hot, too cold. They may be bored. Challenging behaviors could exacerbate if the person has fear, anxiety, depression, if they're isolated. You know, and we can also help them through music and exercise therapy, you know, taking them for a walk, trying to get them to calm down could be a type of response to that. Consider the person's emotional well-being when in the context of behavior. It's important for everyone's emotional well-being to be intact and a part of society, for all of us to be a part of society. Keep a check on your client's response and reactions when participating in activities and be aware of sudden mood changes. It's important that activities can be performed and that it's a sense of achievement is being made. Got another little video.
And I want you to take these three fingers, which are the fingers of skill in a human being. This is what makes us skillful as human beings. Take these three fingers, button a button, zip a zipper, pick your pen up to write. Anything you do with skill, manipulation. These three fingers are the fingers of manipulation. They allow you to take objects and manipulate them. They allow you to turn a page. They allow you to fold, to do all kinds of amazing things. These three fingers. There's what give you, these three fingers give you skill. Two of them are not enough. If you use these two, you can't do a whole lot. If you use these two, you can do more, but you still can't do everything. You do these three, you can do a whole bunch. But these, when you put them all together, do this, make you strong and bring you together. When it comes to dementia, what I would say, when dementia hits a single person, it's inside one person's brain. And it's changing their brain. It's destroying their brain. It's killing them. It's killing their brain, and because your brain runs your body, it's going to kill your body. But this is just a shell that you live in. I mean, now it's an important shell, and this is how you get things to happen. Your eyes, your ears, your hands, your feet. When you put it all together, it's pretty effective as a package. But what makes it do what it does is this up here. But there's more to us than just our brains and our bodies. When we're people of faith, we believe there's more to it than that. And there's this space that I live in, but then there's this space that I live in. And I'm part of this bigger piece, this whole. And so because I am, this is just a definition of me, but when we're together, we become more. But each of us has within us this self that we have. And then there's this something that makes us more. And do this. When it comes to dementia, we often have one person who's going to be the care person. And our relationship was one way. We helped each other. We came away from each other. We came together. We came apart. We did things. We have a relationship. But it's been a relationship, of choice. And now, it's starting to be forced. And it's starting to hurt and pinch sometimes because it doesn't feel right. It's not like it used to be. And sometimes I want to be a part, or sometimes you want to be a part, but it's sometimes hard for us to do that because I may need some help. So do this. Then we have this other person who's part of a relationship. And sometimes it's like this, but sometimes it's like that, and sometimes this, and sometimes this. But when it comes to faith communities, we have sometimes this, the person who has dementia, the person who's trying to help, and then the other. The other is beyond us. The other is not of us. It's this other. Yeah. Now, do this. As my dementia, do this, grows, it gets harder and harder for this person and this person to see me as an equal partner. It gets easier and easier to see me, do this, as the one who's less and missing out and not getting it. And so the things that we tend to do in a faith community that do this, that bring us together and give us a sense of fellowship and belonging, start to feel less and less like something of value to, you think, to this person. And so do this. You guys want to be together, but do this. You don't want me there. Because I start to seem other. Wait a minute, there was already another. And what we sometimes have a hard time then sorting out, do this. Is this person closer to the other than I am? Am I closer to the other than this person is? Or do we leave this other out? Well, that's not a good thing. Because where does the skill come from? By bringing them all together. And are they all equally important? Absolutely. And can they all come together? Yeah, but who's going to have to change once this happens? The others. We're going to have to make some shifts, some changes. And the hardest part for us is to do this. Continue to see this person as whole and complete as the house falls apart and the brain can't do the things it used to do, but it's still whole and complete in our faith. And it gets really difficult when my behavior becomes a behavior we don't like in our faith, that we don't believe in, that I hit my daughter, that I swear in this location where we call a worship service, where I talk about things I shouldn't talk about and behave in ways I shouldn't behave. And it feels like, do this, I should behave better than that. And the question is, can those others figure out how not do this, to sit in judgment of me, but reach acceptance and appreciation and understanding of the why behind what's happening, and let that be separate from the person who I am that is whole. Because I'm still in here, but I'm so different. Not because I want to be, but because the house is falling apart and the unit that runs everything is coming to pieces.
So we also consider the person's health status in the context of their behavior. Sometimes somebody might be under the influence of alcohol, under the influence of drugs, or there may be physical injuries or elevated heart rate, elevated blood pressure, excessive sweating, dilated pupils, pain in a specific area. People with uh, um, that has diabetes, they can also have quite a lot of mood swings and behaviors of concern, and just be sometimes really unreasonable to deal with. So we have to consider these type of things. And nutrition needs, we had a young man that used to come with one of my students to class, and he would really freak out and really hurt his mum at times, and had behaviors of concern and like violent outbursts at canines where he had to be removed. And we looked at his behaviors and tried to establish what the problems was. And one of the biggest issues was that he wasn't eating properly, and he was drinking a lot of Coke. Just looking at which time, when does these behaviors occur. And as we identified that, we got a soda streamer for him and got some vitamin water, and soda stream vitamin water, replaced that with the Coke, and a lot of his behaviors just became so much better to deal with as his nutrition needs were fulfilled. Somebody that's constipated, they will also feel uncomfortable and have behaviors of concern. So it's important that the correct nutrition be received by a client to maintain their health and energy levels. I mean, just think of a little toddler. If they had a glass of Coke, how hyperactive they can be, how naughty they sometimes can get. So it's not much different when, when you have some people with disabilities. Check with the family and carers that the diet is appropriate and contains the right balance and food types for this for the individual's condition, and what are they eating um, is sufficient. I know that it is a challenge, especially with people with disabilities. Um, a lot of care workers sees or has the lazy outlook of, yeah, just take him down to Macca's and that's a part of an outing, and take it down as the having taken the client out, and then they eating junk food on top of it, and then other issues occur: constipation, overweight, and all sorts of other things, hyperactive and behaviors of concern coming from that. Consider the person's medication in context of behaviors of concern. So medications may have side effects, and that might cause people to have behaviors of concern. One of my students shared that his client always slept during the day. So we were talking about behaviors of concern and other subjects, and I was talking about the importance of documenting. And even if something happens all the time, and care workers say, "Oh, this always happens," still documented. So he started documented, even though a lot of the other carers are saying, "Oh, but he always sleeps during the day. That's just how it is." And then after about 2 or 3 weeks, the doctor picked it up in the documents that this person's sleeping during the day. And he had a look at his medication, and he was actually taking one of his tablets in the morning that was making him drowsy. So he changed his medication, and this person then, didn't sleep so long during the day anymore. So don't think that it's something that just always happens. It's about the frequency of it, and now the intensity. If it becomes more frequent, a lot of the antipsychotic drugs, the mood behaviors, the drugs that has effect on your moods, these things have to be closely monitored by the doctors, and they know how to interpret the side effects on these drugs, or when it might be come change, or there's a need for a change for or a review needed for their drugs. So just keep documenting that. We don't always know the side effects for the drugs, or don't always know the reason why people, why certain side effects, even what side effects may occur. So we just can just document all of that. And it is our duty of care to provide the standard of reasonable care while carrying out activities that could potentially harm others. Breaching the duty of care means that you as an individual are liable legally from action for the claimant. And, one of my students today mentioned that it is actually against the law. It can be a criminal offence if you do not give somebody a decent care, if you neglect them in such a way that it brings harm to them. So we can land up in the court of law if we don't care for people properly. Record all observations in accordance with the objectivity and consultation with the supervisor using items that can be clearly understood. Keep records as part of our legal and organizational requirements to report the information. As I said, always report. This helps documents, helps to, if there's changes to progress and any areas of concern for the client, that we can keep accurate records and accounts in our organization records. Our records of observation may be client activities, how they respond and how these are carried out. Social activities, how it's undertaken, what the client's response to that, any changes in routines or circumstances, any behaviors of concern and the frequency of these, and the progress that we've made with their goals and objectives that they may have. Other records that are very important, and especially when there's behaviors of concern, are incident and mandatory reports. A mandatory report has to be reported to the police within 24 hours when there has been any physical harm done or aggression, especially it would class as a mandatory report. And we need to be very accurate in these and reporting them as they are legal documents. All the client's documents are legal documents and have to be written in a very formal and informative manner. So recognize the differences between appropriate and inappropriate interventions when addressing behaviors of concern. Interventions should be used only if necessary to control and calm the situation of difficult behavior, and if the situation of the person is present is in doubt. So using positive behavior support strategies in your interventions will help you to maintain the dignity and the human rights of that client. Always in a positive way, try to approach our clients. Gone are the days where we tied people up or we drugged them up. It is just not part of the care standards anymore, and we do try to avoid doing that for the clients.
I'm going to get on the, are you right-handed? I need to be on the dominant side of the individual because that's where they have motor memory for doing all kinds of tasks. They don't know how to use their other hand nearly as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on this side. Now, hold hands like you normally hold hands. Shake hands like you normally shake hands. Go ahead and shake somebody's hand. And realize there's nothing real comfortable about that. I mean, once you shake hands, then it's like, okay, let go. And what we can end up with is a tug of war. Or late in the disease, people with dementia often like a lot of contact, and they'll squeeze you and actually hurt you. And it's like, ow, 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 ow. And where are you going to grab to get them loose? On the wrist. And what you're going to do is bruise them again. Shake hands, but then immediately slide up around so that what you're doing is holding on palm to palm, thumb to thumb, and you've got a lot of palm contact. Try that with your partner. And then turn it so their hand is on top of yours and just relax the hand so that it's very clear it's relaxed. What you're doing is you're putting pressure in the palm, and pressure in a human being's palm calms them down. So what you're actually doing is helping to calm them even while we're doing things, because I'm giving them input into the sensory system. Okay? The other thing that I can do is take the other hand and lay it on top of the hand. And what I'm creating is artificial warmth and padding. What are they missing? Warmth and padding. So all of a sudden we're feeling more comfortable. Now, there's a big difference between me being down here where she can see me, because remember the visual field problems? What happens if I'm up here? Yeah, and what if I face her like this? What she's going to start to do is mess with me here, or she doesn't realize what I'm doing, and it feels to her like I'm bossing her around. So I want to either sit down or get down so I'm at her level and she can really look at me. The other thing I can do by applying just a little bit of pressure, she'll automatically look, and now I can.
Hi.
Helen Lovett just picked up a unit, HLTAAP001.
Okay.
She's nearly finished the other one, the care plan. She's just got that to do, and she'll bring that back. She said, could we book her in for Wednesday, whichever, was that the 16th?
Talk to her. I'm going to help you get.
Sorry, guys.
Washed up. Okay. Good. Let's take your shirt off. There you go. Now, that's a little less distressing because she understood what I was doing by being to the side and having a single person in the room. And I'm not being loud, I'm not being noisy. What else do you think we need to think about doing in the room, given that she doesn't have any insulation and I'm about to have her come out of her shirt? Get it really warm. Who's going to need to be sweating? Me, I need to be hot so that when she comes out of her shirt, she's not uncomfortable. Because if she is uncomfortable, is she going to want to take more clothing off? No, because she's cold. Here's the next thing we're going to
try again. Interrupted.
And drape it around her shoulders. Now, when I do that, what happens to her exposure in the front? She's covered, she's modest, but what can also happen, she's warmer. Then what I can do is wet her through the towel. I don't even need to take the bra or the under things off yet. Let her keep some modesty, because once you get your clothing wet, what do you think most people want to do? Take it off. And if I haven't had a battle up to now it makes sense to take those off. Okay? Here's the other place I want to put a towel. Across the lap. Why? That's the other modest place, and that's another place that's real sensitive.
Lovely. Okay.
I'm going to get on the...
Sorry for the interruptions there. So sometimes critical incident counseling may be needed after people have acted out in some violent behaviors for them as well as for us. So keep that in mind for us to be the best version of ourselves, that we need to look after our mental health as well in these stressful situations that we may find ourselves in. Understanding inappropriate interventions, so those are infringements on the person's dignity and quality of life, actions that does not support the person's well-being, such as physical restraint or detrimental to the individual. Sorry about that. So equal opportunity and access for those with disability is specified. It works against discrimination in people with disability and their family members. So this is the Disability Discrimination Act 1992. Interpret and follow behavior support strategies, strategies that can help avoid behaviors escalating is showing empathy, redirecting and distracting them, removing the stimuli, removing them from the environment. Strategies for positive behavior support can be using clear methods of communication for them to help understand daily life, changing their work and home environment that their needs and remove the triggers, and adding interesting, enjoyable activities to their plans. So positive reinforcement is where motivation, rewards, and stimulations is presented in response to the behavior. Negative reinforcements is where the stimulations is removed. Ensure that all interventions are in line with organization policies and procedures. Using the behavior support plan as an aforementioned observation of behaviors of triggers in environmental context and emotional well-being, and the health status of the and medication will be on this behavior support plan. Ongoing records of the client's activities will also reflect the progress that has been made in these plans. Responding to these behaviors, once triggers and behaviors are identified, the plan must be adaptive and addressed and resolved. Then this should involve discussions between the carers and the managers and family and the disabled person themselves. Following organization procedures to ensure the safety of the person, making sure that we establish procedures that is designed to cover all circumstances and eventualities. Make sure that you're aware of all procedures that impacts your job role. Respond to critical incidents in according to organization interventions and notification procedures. Critical management in the event of an unexpected event. You should always have a crisis management plan available and ready. This is a reactive strategy which clearly tells staff how to respond during undesirable episodes. The role of a strategy is to keep people safe and de-escalate the situation. When we are in homes where there are clients with very challenging behaviors, then there will be a plan in place. Either you'll have a buzzer to, call for help, or trying to look at their care plans and their behavior support plans in some of the strategies that you can use in crisis management. So also using self-protective strategies, always put yourself first and always keep a path open that you're not trapped in a client's room when they're acting out and behaviors are concerned. So being aware of your surroundings at all times and making decisions accordingly, it helps us to avoid getting into physical confrontation with these people. Monitor strategies to determine effectiveness in consultation with the supervisor. There's in motivation and stress management, engaging meaningful activities and sponsoring relationships and supporting them, improve the environments and the systems. With a little video for us. This is a really great one. I'm sorry
I have one resident that really opened her eyes, didn't respond.
Oh, that's so sad. Okay, sorry.
As much as I tried, I knew her for 2 years. No matter what I tried, massage wouldn't work, nothing worked. But when we got introduced to the iPods and the family told me the things that she liked, it was amazing once we put the iPod on her. She started shaking her feet. She started moving her head. Her son was just amazed. Okay, can we stop? Because now I'm getting OR. I'm seeing her all over again. Hi, Papa. Hi, Papa.
Huh?
How you doing?
All right. Fine. Wait.
Go online.
Wait a minute.
Okay, it's Jerry. How long has he been in the nursing home? Approximately 10 years. He's having seizures. And my mother couldn't handle him at all. Of course, it affected me greatly because he was always, fun loving, singing, every occasion he would come out with a song, no matter where he was. I remember as a child, he used to walk us down the street, me and my brother, and he would stop and do Singing in the Rain. He would have us jumping and swinging around poles. He was, he was good. He was always into music, always loved singing, dancing. His name is Henry Drea. And looking more or less for religious music for him because he enjoys music and he always quoting the Bible. So I'd rather have that for him.
We first see Henry inert, maybe depressed, unresponsive, and almost unalive.
Henry.
Yeah.
Henry.
Yeah, Joe.
I saw your music. You want your music now?
Okay.
Let's try your music, okay? And then you tell me if it's too loud or not.
Then he is given an iPod containing his favorite music. And immediately he lights up. His face assumes expression. His eyes open wide. He starts to sing, to rock, and to move his arms, and he's being animated by the music.
And he used to always sit on the unit with his head like this. He didn't really talk to much people. And then when I introduced the music to him, this is his reaction ever since.
The philosopher Kant once called music the quickening art, and Henry is being quickened, he's being brought to life.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the music for 1 second, okay? Just to ask you a few questions. Okay? I'm going to give it back to you. Okay.
The effect of this doesn't stop, because when the headphones are taken off, Henry, normally mute, virtually unable to answer the simplest yes or no questions, is quite voluble.
Henry.
Yeah.
Do you like the iPod? Do you like the music you're hearing?
Yeah.
Tell me about your music.
I don't have one, my man.
Do you like music?
Yeah, I'm crazy about music. And you play beautiful music, beautiful sound, beautiful.
Did you play music when you were? Did you like music when you were young?
Yes, yes, I've been to big dances and things.
What was your favorite music when you were young?
I guess, well, Cab Calloway was my number one fan guy I like.
What's your favorite Cab Calloway song?
Oh, I'll be home for Christmas. You can count plans on me with plenty of snow near the door. Present, Reverend, you free out.
So in some sense, Henry has restored to himself. He has remembered who he is, and he's reacquired his identity for a while through the power of music.
What does music do to you?
It give me the feeling of love. No man, figure right now the world need to come into music, singing. You got beautiful music in, beautiful, oh lovely, and I feel the band of love, dream. Lord came to me, made me holy. I'm a holy man. So he gave me this sound. I'll just say, I meet you. Let me say, Rosalie, won't you love me? Rosalie, won't you be sweet kind?
With this beautiful new technology, you can have all the music which is significant for you in something as big as a matchbox or whatever. And I think this may be very, very important in helping to animate, organize, and bring a sense of identity back to people who are out of it. Otherwise, music will bring them back into their own personhood, their own memories, their own autobiographies.
So music is very helpful to help people with behaviors of concern as well, to calm them down, and and it has a profound effect on people. So it's always a very good strategy to use if you have some music, I mean, especially if you know what the client's types of music is that they like. So in chapter 3.7, identify and report changes of the person's needs and behaviors, consultation with the supervisor. So opportunities for skills development can include communication opportunities, direct education. They can learn new things. They can learn new problem solving things, and these things can happen in physical activities and group activities. Um, then there might be changes then with the sensory difficulties, or people decline, especially aged people decline, or people might have new requirements. Their condition might get worse or better, and there might be changes, so we report those. And follow and refer procedures in consultation with the supervisor. Procedures for special services, we have to link in with professionals sometimes to help us in some areas. Work with these specialists with the best support for your client, so you can look at options that are available to meet the needs of the client. Consult with your supervisor and discuss the outcome and the decisions and the best course of action. Information on the clients will be shared in confidence with the specialist as relevant to the needs of the referral. Comply with the organization reporting requirements. Keep documents completed quickly as possible after the event. Written documents and can include progress notes or case notes, incident reports, and these are all legal documents and have to be concise, objective, by exception, appropriate language, no slang, include all the necessary information. We also always verbally report incidents as well as writing it down. Maintain documentation, store and records appropriately. Lock and key, make sure that you don't keep your iPhone open or your phone open with clients' records on an app or, you know, where anyone can access it. It is to the client's protection as well. Last year there was an incident of a care worker that the files was left on the passenger side in a car, and another client got a hold of the records of, it was ex-partner, and kidnapped the lady and locked her in the back of his boot because he got her details from the care worker's notes. So we have to make sure that we protect our clients and put their records away safely. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. Sorry, I've rumbled through it. I try to keep it short and keep to all the details, and especially share all the videos with all of you. So we'll catch up tomorrow and we'll do the questions and answers on the assessment. Thank you very much for listening.